It is 10 minutes to 9 p.m. local Israeli time. I am Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves, Jonathan, and I'm here to give you a daily or a nightly update. We are 62 hours after the Hamas invasion of Israel, of southern Israel. The count of Israeli casualties is the staggering, unprecedented number of 2,300 wounded and more than 700 dead. Those are all of the casualties, civilian and military. But unlike any other time in Israeli history, the majority of those casualties are unfortunately civilian. Why are they civilians? Because the attack that Hamas did was focused on butchering and executing and massacring civilians in Israel. They struck the military as well, and we have military casualties, but that wasn't the focus. The focus was our civilians. Probably the most challenging part is that we, as we speak, have dozens of Israelis that are held in captivity in Gaza under Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. Hamas and the Islamic Jihad are responsible for their well-being. We have civilians, women, children, elderly, infants, and even disabled people that have been taken by these beasts from Gaza that have come across our borders and executed civilians. Then they took civilians back into Gaza and paraded them on the streets to be harassed, attacked, and assaulted, with crowds cheering on. And all of these videos have been proudly disseminated by Hamas members showing their so-called achievement. So if this is their achievement, it should tell you who it is that we are dealing with and what level of barbarity and inhumane treatment that we are facing. I can say finally today, now, many hours after Hamas invaded into southern Israel, that Israeli security forces, IDF, police, and the others have re-established control of southern Israel. There are still attempts by Hamas and other terrorists to get across the border and get into Israel and to attack in other locations. But the IDF has regained control over all of the Israeli communities. There are no more active terrorists in any of the communities, but there is fighting along the border, but we are now back in control of the situation. We have mobilized more than 300,000 reserve troops, which, to put into context, is more than we have ever done before in such a short period of time. And that should indicate the severity of the situation from our perspective. In 48 hours, 300,000 reservists have been mobilized. They are now both in southern Israel and in northern Israel. In the south, they are preparing, getting ready, equipping themselves, and studying their missions and their future tasks. They're defending the border, and they're making sure that there are no further attacks against Israeli civilians in the south. The IDF has been given rather clear guidance from the Israeli government what it is to achieve, and we will focus on degrading until 100% completion of all of Hamas's military capabilities. What that means in plain terms, in plain language, that Hamas won't be able to strike Israeli civilians ever again. That's what it means. How that will be accomplished is a matter of strategy and tactics. I won't go into those details, how, when, and where, but I can say that we have been striking Hamas military targets from the air for the last 7, 8, or even 10 hours, and there are a lot of Hamas military casualties. We are striking their bunkers, we're striking their command positions, we're striking the places where they launch rockets from Israel, and we are striking places where they're hiding, these so-called fighters. By the way, if you ask yourself, and if you're watching TV and you see lots of images of destruction in Gaza, and you may get the wrong impression that we are aiming for ordinary buildings, and you may hear people say that we are trying to strike civilian targets, that is nonsense. We are striking military targets belonging to Hamas. We're focusing on fighters. We're focusing on those who are fighting against us. We have no business killing civilians in Gaza. And we've said any civilian in the different environments in Gaza, specifically the Rimal neighborhood in Gaza City and a few other locations, we've said so in Arabic to them so that they can understand. Get out, because you're above and you're being used by Hamas as human shields, and you better not be where you are, because this is a very dangerous place. And we're doing that because we do not seek to kill civilians. We are after the terrorists. Now, you may hear stuff about water and about electricity. Let me put that into context. We are at war. We have been assaulted, attacked by a ruthless, inhumane enemy that has butchered our civilians. I am sure that if you for a moment think about it, I am sure that you'll agree with me that you cannot expect us to be providing electricity, water, and energy to the very same enemy that has come across our border and is trying to kill our civilians. Surely you cannot expect us to be doing that. So that is where we are now. We are focused on fighting. We are focused on defending our civilians and setting the situation straight in the south. There have been attacks up north as well, along our border with Lebanon. And I understand that terrorists have tried to infiltrate into Israel. They were repelled by Israeli troops, and one was able to flee, the rest were killed. And as we speak now, there are no current attacks along our northern border, but we are deployed, vigilant, and ready to defend and strike if there should be additional aggression against us. In the eastern Mediterranean, there is a US battle group advancing towards the eastern Mediterranean and towards proximity to our shores. What they're saying, and these are not my words, is to all of the other terrorist organizations in the region and their puppeteers in Tehran, their Iranian masters, if you think that this is a good time to join in the fight and attack Israel from other fronts, think again. That is the American message, and that is a message that we totally approve. We are strong, united. We are focused on our mission. We will come out of these first horrible, terrible, God-forsaken days of trauma, and we will strike back at our enemies like we haven't done before. That is what we are going to do. I urge you, if you're watching this, please stay informed. Please listen to information and read and consume information from a verified source. When you hear criticism leveled at Israel, think if that criticism was leveled at the country where you live, any free democratic country, if your country was in a similar situation, would that criticism be leveled at your country? And if it were, would it be just? I don't think it is. I don't think that the level of criticism against Israel, historically speaking, is fair. And I'm sure that in this conflict as well, as soon as we will start defending ourselves, we will be singled out unfairly for things happening in Gaza. Responsibility for everything happening now in Israel and in Gaza lays only on one organization directly, and that is Hamas. They are the ones who started this. They were the ones who launched an unprovoked and unprecedented attack against Israel, and they are the ones who literally opened the floodgates of hell on the Gaza Strip. Stay informed, stay safe, and if you're a supporter and a friend of Israel, make it heard, make it count, and we shall prevail.